Good evening and welcome to the Sound Off Show. My name is Linda Kirker. I host the program for almost 14 years now, if you can believe it. And I love doing it. I want to thank you so much for tuning into the program tonight and for any other times that you have joined in. The phone number to call in if you're so inclined to pose a question or make a comment. We'd be happy to have you do that once we get started with the show. And so I'm not going to do any protracted introduction tonight. I'm just going to have the pleasure of introducing my guest, someone I met fairly recently and proud to know him, Staff Sergeant Andrew Knapp.
Thanks for having me, Linda.
Yeah, welcome to the program. It's great to have you here. I'm such a big believer and supporter of our military that I'm thrilled to have you here.
Thank you.
And you're a recruiter.
Yes.
And so I thought, what a great opportunity for people to have an in-depth understanding of what our Vermont Army National Guard is all about. And you're located here in St. Albans?
Yes, right on Fairfield Street.
Yes, and it's the 1st Battalion, 172nd Cavalry Regiment. That sounds so prestigious.
It really is. Lineage traces back hundreds of years, back to the St. Albans raid, back to the Ransom Guard, something that we're really trying to get ourselves back in tune with. So,
yeah. Well, I know there was just a big event at the Taylor Park in St. Albans. Yeah. I think with some reenactment.
Yes.
That happened, and I think also I read in the local paper that the National Guard here in St. Albans wants to be more involved with the community and have people understand more about what the National Guard is all about, and hence you're here.
Absolutely. And it's not just the National Guard in St. Albans, it's us as a whole, statewide. We really want to open our doors to the public and allow them to come in and see what it is that we do.
Yes, absolutely. I love going in there. Of course, you know, when I was in the State Guard, we had our drills there too.
Yes.
And I always felt proud to walk in and to be a part of that little part that we did. So why don't you, if you will, Andrew, can I call you Andrew?
Absolutely.
Oh, thank you. Tell us about how you got involved initially with the National Guard.
Sure. It started when I was a senior in high school. Kind of got to the point in my life where I wanted to go to college, but I wasn't really sure exactly. I thought I had an idea, and I did what most high school kids do, and I procrastinated a lot. The next thing I knew, I was a month away from graduation and hadn't turned my FAFSA in or anything like that, and so I was like, well, I guess I'm not going to college next year. I had a really good family friend who I had known since I was in 8th grade and still keep in contact with him. And came to find out he was a recruiter from the National Guard.
Oh, for heaven's sake.
Yeah, I had no idea.
Really?
That was the best part. I did further in my high school career, my junior, senior year, I started seeing him more around the high school, and I was like, hey, wait a minute, I know that guy. And we invited him to my graduation party. Mm-hmm. We sat down, and he asked me point blank, he said, what are you going to do? And I looked at him, I was like, I have no idea. We set up an appointment. I went and I sat down with him. Next thing I know, I'm filling out paperwork. Next thing I know, I'm in a car driving away. So for me, my story isn't as typical as some people where, you know, it runs in the family or it's something I've always wanted to do. There wasn't any motivation for me behind it. It was just kind of something I did on a whim. So.
And here you are, how many years later?
12 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great. And I'm eager to hear about, you know, some of the things that have been important to you in terms of learning and, you know, contacts and associations and opportunities as we, you know, go along here. Now, what kinds of positions have you had in the National Guard from when you first started? I know you had to go through the training, and we'll get to that in a few minutes.
So when I first joined, I have a passion for cooking.
Really?
I do, yes.
I'll be over.
I got steak tips marinating right now.
Ooh.
Yeah, I've always had a passion for cooking. I went to the Center of Technology in Essex my junior year for the culinary arts program, and wanted to go, and that's actually where I wanted to go and do in college. And then when I joined the military, I found out that one of the jobs that they offered was a cook, a culinary specialist.
No kidding.
So I was like, all right, two peas in a pod right there.
Absolutely.
So I joined as a cook, and I went away for my training. And when I came back, I met my leadership, and the first thing they said to me is, "Welcome back. What's the next job you want to do?" So
Asked you, yeah.
It was pretty crazy. I was like, "Well, what do you mean? Like, I just got back. I'd like to do this job for a little while." But every now and then, changes happen, and the unit that I was supposed to go to went from a field artillery unit to a support unit, so their cooks kind of moved. They didn't go away, they just moved to a different location. I didn't feel like uprooting and traveling an extra half hour out of my way. So with about 2 years in the military, I was already fully trained in two positions.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, and you know what is just hitting me right now is the flexibility that was there to meet your needs and your interests.
Absolutely.
And that's the best thing that can happen when someone's going to do a job, is to get into something that makes them content and, feeling like this is me.
Absolutely. That's the biggest thing is flexibility with us and just becoming a family. We're a second family for a lot of people.
Absolutely. And maybe a first family for some people.
For some, yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's a great thing. And you have so much in common because you're working toward a common goal.
Absolutely.
Yeah, which is great. So 12 years now. And when did you switch from the cooking and then into recruitment?
So a lot of people don't really know what the National Guard itself is, and we're a part-time organization. So we drill the 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks a year. So for 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks a year, I was a cook for about a month. And then I became a logistics guy.
Tell me what that means.
So logistics for us, the full term of it is the automated logistics specialist. And the easiest way to describe that to people is if you take a warehouse like UPS, how they bring packages in and ship them back out, that's exactly what I did.
Okay.
I would create orders for product. I would accept the shipments in, input them through our computer system, and then process them out to the field and to other units.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. So, you know what? If you ever wanted a job at UPS,
Absolutely.
there you go. You're prepared. And you know what I like too is that there are a variety of interests that you can pursue and needs for the Guard.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's important that they get matched up.
Yes.
Yep.
That's the biggest thing, especially for a recruiter, is making sure that relationship between recruiter and recruitee is as tight as possible. If you put them in a job that they're not happy in, they're not going to be happy for a while.
Absolutely.
So making sure that they get exactly what it is they want is our number one goal.
Well, yes, and for you to establish a bond or a good relationship with these recruits so that they feel comfortable coming to you and that they know that you're supportive of them, that's really important. Any relationship, really, whether it be military or not, family, friends. So that's a nice thing to know, that there's that human element. It's really important. So let's see, what else did I have on my list? If there's anything you ever want to pop in with, you're welcome to do that. Let's see, you did not have any prior military service?
No, I joined right out of high school. I graduated June 2007 from Mount Mansfield, and July 15th of 2007, I raised my right hand.
Wow.
Yep.
That was quick.
It was extremely quick.
But something must have touched you that you felt this might be for me.
At first, it was just kind of like I said, it was on a whim. There wasn't really a whole lot behind it. It was like, I'll give it a shot and see if I like it.
Yeah.
And next thing I know, I'm sitting here 12 years later and
Here we are.
still doing it.
That's great. Now, something I wanted folks to know,
Yeah.
the St. Albans Armory, the 172nd Cavalry Regiment, I like that. Sounds so powerful and military and almost historic too, because there is a history there.
There is, yes.
There are how many National Guard members? No, Army National Guard members at the St. Albans site, the Armory.
So on a drill weekend, I think we're slotted for roughly 90 soldiers. And each armory fluctuates depending on what their capabilities are. But on a daily basis, we have about 15 full-time staff.
Okay, I didn't know that. 15 full-time. And you're one of them.
I am. Yep.
And Zach Fike is one.
Yes, he is.
Yeah?
Yes.
I know him. I think he was on the show once too. I think I mentioned that to you. Purple Hearts Reunited. That's quite an interesting thing that he does too.
It is. It's very commendable.
All around the country. And then in the state, there are how many Guard members? Army Guard.
Army Guard, you're looking roughly 3,000 to 3,500.
Wow.
And then on the air side of the Guard, you're
Air
looking
Guard.
at about 1,000 to 15. So you have a rough total of anywhere between 4,500 to 5,000 strong.
Okay. And then the number of armories, National Guard armories in Vermont is...
Yep. We have 19.
That's
ranging
amazing.
from Swanton all the way over to Newport, and then all the way down to the Bennington, Bradford, White River Junction.
So scattered all around the state. Wow. And I wonder how many years of service, if you took each one of those individuals and added up the years of service, what that would amount to. But we don't have that. We didn't talk about that. So, as you said, Andrew, the primary mission of the National Guard is statewide.
Yes.
However, you can be called upon by the federal government.
Yes. Yep. Our primary mission and our sole goal is to provide support for the citizens of Vermont, whether it be in a natural disaster such as a snowstorm, which we get very often.
Yeah. That's Vermont.
Floods, things like that. On the federal side, the president has command and control over the military itself. So he can, at any time, if he deems necessary, he can activate any state. I think there's an order of merit list, so to speak, in which they go from. But there is a possibility that
Go ahead.
You in the National Guard can be called to active federal service.
When you say a merit, is that to be called upon, you mean?
Yeah. Yes.
Based on previous experience or?
Nope. So we go on a rotation cycle.
Oh.
So it's usually about every 4 years, and year 4 is you get to that point and there you may or may not be called upon. The last time Vermont was deployed as a whole was back in 2010. So we're looking almost 10 years ago.
Right.
Where a large sum of Vermont soldiers were called to active federal service.
Well, I guess you could say it's a good thing because we haven't had the need for it. But the other good thing is that we have people prepared should the need arise.
Right, and that's the other part of our federal service mission is to maintain our training and our capabilities and our equipment. Because if you have a partially or semi-untrained soldier, they're not effective. So
True.
a lot of people have probably heard about the training that we did down in Fort Polk, Louisiana. That is essential in maintaining our mission readiness, our capabilities.
And there may be new things that come into play, new types of equipment or whatever that you want to ensure that the members of the Guard are proficient at least some of them who would be using that equipment.
Definitely, absolutely.
Yeah, now, my husband was in the Army Guard many years ago. He was a tank commander, and I was proud to know that. Anyway, do we have tanks?
We don't anymore.
Okay.
No. Vermont doesn't have the capability anymore to house them. So yeah, we got rid of them.
I didn't talk ahead of time with you about this, but what are the, if you could, what are the possible or potential needs that Vermont trained folks could be called to do? Is there any particular area of training or expertise that the Vermont Guard members might be called on because of a special kind of a training, or is it all pretty basic?
There could be. We most recently, our flights, or not our flights, excuse me, our air ambulance company in Burlington, they recently got activated and served I believe it was a 6-month deployment rotation. So
Okay.
depending on the unit's capabilities and depending on what is going on in the world, there could be onesie, twosie deployments here and there. But again, that's we all know this going into it, and it's something that we prepare for.
Well, yes, you could be a part-time member of the Vermont Army National Guard, excuse me, but then if there were some emergency in another part of the country, you might be gone for an extended period of time to meet that need.
Yep.
But that's something you all know
Right.
up front.
Yep.
And the families know as well.
And that's one of the things when I sit down with an individual, especially a high school kid, I definitely make sure that I let their parents know, I let them know, like, this is a possibility. Because if you don't tell it to them then,
Oh, yeah, it's the only
the chance
fear.
of it coming back and be like, well, you never told me that.
It's the only
So-
fear and the right thing to do.
Yeah, you
Now,
gotta be honest.
do you generally, when there is a young person, let's say a high school student who's interested and they're going to be graduating, do you generally, as part of the process, speak with the parents as well?
Yes. Part of my personal plan and how I go about it is even if the student is 18,
Legal.
I still want to meet with the parents. And the reason I tell them that is because the parents are going to have questions
Yes,
that the kids just don't think of.
exactly.
So
And that makes for a more full or more complete process, interview process, so
yeah,
to speak.
definitely,
Which, that's smart on your part. I'm assuming there's a lot smart on your part.
I try. I really do.
Well, I know you know your stuff. So let me see here. Why don't you, if you would, explain to the folks how they can research the Guard on the web?
Yeah. So we're in the 21st century. So we do have a website. It's 1-800-GO-GUARD.com. And it's super friendly and easy to maneuver. And while you're on there, if you see something or you just want more information that you can't seem to find on there, there is a contact recruiter. And the great thing is there's an algorithm in place that, depending on your zip code and your location, it'll get you in contact with the closest recruiter to where you live.
So that's good.
For anyone in St. Albans or Fairfax, all their information will come right to me, and I'll reach out to them.
Those two towns?
Those two, yep.
Okay, okay. Well, I'm hoping that the parents and grandparents and even any young people who might be watching tonight will go to that site to educate themselves. And if they have a child or a grandchild who, like you at the time that you joined, doesn't really know how they want to proceed with their life, then this is an opportunity.
Absolutely. And the biggest thing that we like to push is if you don't know what you want to do, just sit down with us anyway. We can usually figure it out with you and help you. And sitting down with us doesn't mean you're joining. Until you go to the processing station and raise your right hand, there's nothing locked in stone.
Committing you, yeah. Yeah, and that's a good idea, if for nothing else than to think about your life in terms of different types of opportunities, and to either say, yeah, that sounds great to me, or, maybe I want to think about it, you know, and that's fine too, because you don't want anyone having huge reservations, I don't think.
No, if you come into it with reservations, it's going to make the process just that much more agonizing. And we as recruiters, our sole mission and goal is to make this process as quick and easy as possible. So.
Yeah, and it doesn't serve anyone's needs well, yours or the guards or the potential applicant, if they're uncertain. Right. Okay. Anything else you want to add on that?
We will. We are on Facebook as well.
Oh yeah.
You can find us through Facebook just by searching the Vermont National Guard. We are also I'm on Facebook, and you can find me by searching 802 Ransom. I'm on Instagram as well as I also run the page for the first of the 172nd Cav, and they are ransom_guard on Instagram, and they are also on Facebook at 1st Battalion 172nd Cavalry Regiment, all spelled out. It's extremely long, but I'm pretty sure I changed the permissions where you can find them by searching ransom_guard as well. Ransom_guard. Yes.
In case anybody asks me. You never know. Okay. I know people. And I love young people. So who knows? Maybe a great opportunity.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
So when you say the first, how did you say that? First? It's the 1st Battalion.
1st Battalion, 172nd Cavalry Regiment.
Right. So what does that mean? Was it the 1st Battalion started in Vermont?
No, so a battalion is made up of companies. So it's made up of 4 companies, which also includes a headquarters unit as well. So it's the regiment is 4 battalions. So it's not as complicated to explain, but because I'm sitting here, it's extremely complicated. So it's just the name, I guess.
Okay.
So,
all right.
Yeah.
I just thought I'd ask. Okay. So by my figures, and you spoke to this briefly, there's a long history of the Vermont Cavalry Regiment, and I figured out from our discussion the other day that it would be around 163 years, which would bring us down, if my math was correct, to 1856.
Yep.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it is. It's been around an extremely long time.
So, how about the process for enlisting in the National Guard? What is the process, other than if you live in this area, St. Albans or Fairfax, did you
Yep.
say? To contact you. And I have your cell phone number and your email up here, which we can give at the end.
Sure.
If you'd like, with your permission.
Absolutely.
So what about the eligibility requirements?
So the basic eligibility boils down to between the ages of 17 and 35. With that, I would encourage people that even if you're over the age of 35, to still reach out to somebody, because you never know. There's always sometimes an exception to the rule, and with age, as long as you don't have any major
Illnesses
issues or anything like
issues,
that,
yeah.
We might be able to still help.
Well, and the possibility that someone might have a great deal of experience
Yes.
in a certain area of expertise that's needed by the Guard.
Yeah, absolutely.
And speaking of that, where did I write those? Well, we'll get to that. So what about, the education level?
So again, the basic eligibility requirements is a high school diploma or a GED.
Yep. Okay.
College is not required, because as we'll get into a little bit later, we can help get them to that point.
And what about the medical requirement?
Medical requirement it's a long process. Our application itself is probably the longest application anyone
You'll
will
ever
ever fill out, unless you're filling out for the federal government. It's about 24 pages.
Whoa!
And inside that 24 pages is 172 medical questions.
Holy mackerel.
So they want your entire autobiography.
Not a bad idea.
No.
Especially
they just
in
want to
today's
make sure
world.
that, if there is something wrong, that it's not gonna stop you from
Doing
what
you're
we need
needed.
to do.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. And what you're saying, I'm assuming, correct me if I'm wrong, is that if a person could potentially have a minor health issue, but that's never been a major problem and isn't likely to be, and based on especially what their task would be, their role would be within the Guard.
Yeah, so what it would boil down to is obviously depending on what the injury or illness was or is, we would gather all the necessary documentation and we would send it to our chief medical officer.
Medical records.
And they would review it. Once they review it, they will give us a yay or an A. So.
Okay. And now there's a moral requirement.
Yes, yep. So law violations, a lot of people are like, well, I heard I couldn't join because I had a speeding ticket. Well, that's not true. You can have a speeding ticket and still join the Guard. I did. I had 4.
Uh-oh.
I had a lead foot when I was a kid.
Oops.
But
you grew up.
I did. I grew up.
Okay, good.
I grew up. A little. It's at 80 instead of 90.
Please don't. Somebody might believe that. Okay.
But yeah, so really with the moral section, obviously anything egregious, we don't accept. But even
felony
with that,
or
some felonies we can accept.
Really?
Depending on what it is, yeah. So again, with that, if there's questions on, well, I had this when I was a kid, or I had this, so on and so forth, you just reach out to a recruiter, explain to them what the deal was, what happened, and they can tell you whether or not
it's going to work. Yeah. Okay, and then there's a score on a military test for the mental acuity, or?
Yeah, so much like in high school, at the end of every course, you take your final exam. For us, this is your quote-unquote final exam. We test your mental capabilities, and it's the ASVAB, which stands for Armed Service Vocational Aptitude Battery. It's really, really long for just saying it's a test. So that test tells us exactly what jobs best fit you.
Good.
So it's kind of like taking an acuplacer test.
A what?
An acuplacer, like high school and middle school. You can take a test and it'll tell you like
Your acumen?
Yeah. So you best fall under a job that is in protective service, or you would benefit from looking into the IT world or something like that. So that's what this test does. Gives us an overall score, and able to enlist, you have to have a minimum overall score of 31. Now, when I say that, a lot of people are like, well, that's really low.
Well,
A 31 in our book is a percentage. So it just means that based off of everybody that has taken the test that you took, the exact version and number, you scored higher than 31% of the people.
Ah.
A perfect score for us is a 99, which anything over a 50 in Vermont, you can qualify for just about every job we have.
Wow. But when you say 30 or 31, whatever, and it sounds like you only got a third of them right,
Yeah,
instead
exactly.
of you did better than 30% of the people,
Yeah.
right? Did I say that right?
Absolutely. That's
Yeah.
exactly it.
Okay. Or you did 30% better than most of the people. I'm not sure which, but okay. So then also the Guard is going to look at whether you have prior military service or non-prior military service.
Yeah, so if you have served in the military ever, whether it was with the National Guard, active duty, or any branch of service, we welcome you with open arms. A good chunk of the Vermont National Guard is actually made up of prior service Marines.
Really?
Yeah.
Marines?
Marines.
Isn't that interesting?
A lot of them I know personally, and yeah, for some reason, the National Guard just attracts them.
Well, I'm assuming that they obviously completed their Marine service.
Yes.
And they love being part of the military. Mm-hmm. Part of that, I hope, is patriotism, but also feeling needed and being useful.
Exactly it. A lot of the people that get out about a year or two afterwards realize that they just miss the camaraderie more than anything. It's not the paycheck and it's not the uniform, it's the camaraderie. It's the second family.
Yes, and you have so much in common. Your belief system and probably your patriotism. I don't want to attribute anything to anybody, but I kind of associate military service with patriotism and like-minded people.
Exactly.
Which bonds you.
Yes.
And I can imagine that if I had been in the military for a certain number of years and enjoyed that camaraderie and that, likeness with one another, and then all of a sudden it's gone, it's been such a big part of your life.
Yeah.
So this helps to fill that empty space and still allows you, while it allows you to be productive and have that camaraderie and be of service.
Yes, very much.
So it's a win-win all the way around for everybody. Mm-hmm. That's a good thing.
It is a very good thing.
So okay, now let's get to basic training. So and this is for men and women, I must say. Yeah. The whole process
Absolutely
is open to boys and girls, men and women, prior military or not.
Yep.
And so the basic training is, go ahead and tell us how many weeks and so forth.
Basic training is 10 weeks. And that doesn't matter what job you choose. That's for everybody.
2.5 months.
Yes. And it goes by very quickly. Although it doesn't seem like it does when you're there, but it does. The basic training is held at 5 separate locations throughout the country. They're all in the southern portion.
Oh, okay. You don't do it here.
No. So any of the job training or anything like that you do, there's not a lot of it offered in Vermont. So most of it is done outside of Vermont. but then you come back.
But that's different from the basic training.
Correct.
And is the basic training done at military installations?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so all the basic training sites are all active duty installations.
Okay.
So they're manned 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Can you give me a few examples?
Yeah. So you have Fort Jackson in South Carolina. You have Fort Leonard Wood in Missouri. Fort Benning in Georgia.
Oh, yeah.
So it's just a few of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
The other thing that's great about these basic training sites is over the years with the prevalence of social media and people being on Facebook and Instagram and all of that, is these sites have done a really good job of adapting that into their protocol. So you can actually go to your soldiers' company page, so to speak, for their basic training. And you can follow along and see the pictures that they post. So one day they might be on the ropes course doing rappelling. The next day they might be at the range doing marksmanship training. The next day they could be at the grenade range learning how to hold and throw a grenade. Mm-hmm. And you can follow along. And the really neat part is as you're scrolling through the pictures, all of a sudden one catches your eye and you look and that's your son or your daughter or your boyfriend or girlfriend or husband and wife or what have you. So they've done a really good job of making sure that the family still feels kind of involved. Mm-hmm. Because basic training is tough. I mean, it tests you physically, mentally, and emotionally.
Absolutely.
A lot of the people that are going there, this is the first time they've been away from their family for this amount of time. Mm-hmm. You know, a summer camp here and there for a week is okay, it's just a week. But this is 10 weeks of what could be intense training. So they do a really good job of making sure the families stay engaged and able to see. And
as you were speaking about the different types of training, some of those skills can be useful in your personal life too.
Absolutely. Yeah. Everything we train can be transferable.
Mm-hmm. So that's a bonus.
Oh, absolutely.
And it builds up your, I would think, your sense of personal empowerment or strength or ability, you know, give you a sense of that.
Yeah, it makes you prideful.
Yeah.
You walk around, you stand a little bit taller.
I did it.
Yeah. Just talking about it, you're kind of like, you catch yourself. But yeah, it's definitely, it's a sense of pride.
And it's physical strength building, mm-hmm. as well as you say, mental, you know, improving your mental acuity and strength. And what's the other part of it? Physically, emotionally.
Yes.
Yeah, I like it. I like this. It's in a sense like for a youngster going off to Boy Scout camp mm-hmm. or Girl Scout camp, where you learn, you know, how to put up a tent and how to tie knots and things that I did through the years as a scout. And they've come in handy through the years.
Absolutely.
You know, so in your personal life.
Yep.
So, and I would like to ask you to reiterate about how the families can be to keep up to date with this YouTube day one.
So if you go on YouTube and you just type in the search bar day one of basic training, it'll show you, I forget the one that I usually use and I show people, but it'll show you from when they leave the airport, get on the bus, to when they arrive at the training site and get off the bus. It'll show you exactly what it's like.
It's a video?
It's a video, yeah. And the day one is probably the most stressful, just because you don't really know what time your flight's gonna get in. You might miss a flight. By the time you get there, you might have to wait for the next shuttle to get you to the training site. And it could be an hour, it could be 2. You don't really know. So the whole time you're kind of just sitting there in anticipation.
Anxiety building.
Yeah, your heart rate gets going. You get a little clammy, but yeah, it takes you right through and shows you exactly what it's going to be like on day one. And then you can even look at videos of, a lot of people ask me, what was the gas chamber like?
Oops, tell me about that.
So again, it's not a secret. It's out there on YouTube. It's the gas chamber. It's exactly what it says it is. You take CS gas and they expose it to you so you know what it feels like. And it's not like they're going to hold you in there until they can't anymore.
Right.
They'll bring you in, they'll ask you, they'll explain to you like, hey, this is what we're going to do. You're going to take your mask off, you're going to recite this, you're going to put your mask back on. Okay? Then you're going to do it again. And then we're going to clear the building. And while you're going through it, you're kind of like, oh man, what did I get myself into? Like, this is horrible. But after the fact, and you look at the video and you watch videos and you're like, oh man, I look like that. Oh, that was horrible. I can't believe I look like that. Before I became a recruiter, I worked for the Department of Corrections, and part of their training is you have to get pepper sprayed, just like in the police academy. In order to administer and carry it, you have to be exposed to it.
Sure, to know what it's all about.
Yeah. So one of the questions they asked, they said, how many of you are or were in the military? And a bunch of us raised our hand, and they said, would you rather get pepper sprayed or go through the chamber again? Hands down, I'd rather go through the chamber again. Once you think about it, it's not that bad. It has a lasting effect of maybe 10 minutes after, and then you're fine.
But they know how long they can keep you.
Oh,
away.
Absolutely. The training sites aren't going to do anything that's going to jeopardize the safety of any of these soldiers.
Yeah, yeah.
So.
But it's a learning experience for sure.
It is.
And everything that I'm assuming here, because I haven't been through this, but anything that you manage to get through and come out on the other side whole, then you have to have an increased sense of strength in yourself and a sense of empowerment, kind of.
Yeah, it's more of a sense of accomplishment.
Yeah, yeah.
Like if you, in the beginning, or you get to know people that are in the military, they're going to tell you what they went through and stuff like that. So you can kind of get a synopsis of what it's going to be like. But once you do it and you go through it, and it's a check the block is really all it is, and you're like, oh, okay, well, that's done. I'm glad that's out of the way. What do I have next? So it's a sense of accomplishment, and then the anticipation of the next thing coming.
Oh yeah.
So.
Yeah, what am I going to be doing next? Now, as you said, the basic training is 10 weeks.
Yes.
And it's the basic training, and it makes sense that it's done at military, what do I want to say?
Installations.
Installations, thank you.
You're welcome.
Not in the military. I wanted to be at one point.
You did mention that.
Yes, and my family balked big time, but I've always regretted it. So when I had the chance to get in the State Guard for 11 years, I said, well, I can help in some way, even though it's a small way.
Yeah.
And so we do what we can do when we can do it, right?
Exactly.
Anyway, so the shortest job training time, 13 weeks, right?
14.
14.
Yep.
Oops, I wrote the wrong number. Now you know I'm not perfect. Not that you might have thought I was. Okay.
So that's the shortest one is our infantry school.
Infantry.
Yep. So it's 4 weeks of actual job training, but it's all done at the same place. So it's 10 weeks of basic training, and then on week 11, you wake up and they're like, all right, congratulations. Now you're in the infantry school. But it's the same thing over and over again. With different jobs, a lot of them are done not at the same training site. Fort Benning is home of the infantry, so it only makes sense that they complete basic training and their job schooling in the same place. You can have our military intelligence could do, 10 weeks in South Carolina at Fort Jackson, and then they're going to go and they're going to do their I don't even remember how long it is. I think it's over 20 weeks in Fort Huachuca, Arizona. So it's all dependent, all the training after the basic training, with the exception of a few jobs, are done at other installations throughout the country.
Okay, but military installations.
All military installations.
Okay.
Yep.
And then you come back here.
And then you come right back here.
And you're prepared.
Yep.
And so once they're trained and prepared and they come back here, do they have an opportunity to use those skills at all?
Yes. So like I mentioned before, we're a part-time organization.
Right.
The 1 weekend a month. During that one weekend, what you're doing is you're doing your job.
What you were trained for.
So if you're an infantry guy, you're going to be out practicing your reaction, your room clearing, your battle drills, all of that. If you're an intel analyst, you're going to be looking at overlays or interpreting fake information and preparing reports. If you're a medic, you're going to be honing in on your skills, practicing IVs, practicing triage techniques, practicing how to dress a wound. So we very much, while we wear the uniform, we do our job.
It's readiness, preparation.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, good. Let's see. And then you said something yesterday about the most time that the training could take.
Yeah, we have some jobs that the training itself, not to include the 10 weeks, some of those jobs are up over a year.
Yeah.
Worth. So
I believe it, because some jobs are not simple.
No.
You not only have to have the basic skills, but you have to have the, the knowledge that goes with it. And, I can't imagine working on anything that's on the computer, for instance. I mean, I have a computer, but like I told you, 7,000 emails right now.
Yeah.
So don't send me any important emails. And then things that like chemicals and electronics and all that, that's not what everybody can do.
No.
Even carpentry, I shouldn't say even carpentry, I mean carpentry and other, I took a quick glance at some of these types of jobs that the military does.
Yeah.
And you told me cavalry scout, what does that mean?
So a cavalry scout is along the same lines as infantry. The biggest difference is they're a recon element, so they do reconnaissance. They're the first ones and they're furthest away from everybody. So
Advance?
They're the advanced party, pretty much. So we will send them out to collect intel as far as, who is the enemy, what do they look like, what are they wearing, what are their capabilities, and they'll send it back. And then it kicks back to one of the next jobs that we offer, which is an intel analyst. For me, that's probably one of the best kept secrets
Really?
for us, is that job in particular. So an intel analyst, like I hit on a little while ago, was you take all the information that the Cav Scout gave you and you put it into a report and you hand that off, and you're essentially giving the infantry what they need to be successful. But with that comes a top secret security clearance.
Ah.
So anybody that looks at going into the private sector outside of the military, a top secret security clearance is roughly about $200,000 for, yeah.
Wait a minute. The pay or what it cost you to get it?
What it costs to get it.
No kidding.
Yeah, it's expensive. It's extremely expensive.
Does the military pay for that, or?
Oh yeah, we hook them up with a top secret, as long as they meet all the other requirements and stuff.
Yeah.
We will give them. Well, we don't give it to them; they earn.
Oh, absolutely.
The top secret security clearance.
Wow. Very interesting. All the moving parts, the ins and outs, and
everything kind of is. If you look at it, kind of like a quilt. Everything is sewn together because every job complements another.
Yeah, they're all working together. I've made, yeah, you're talking to the right woman. I've made my share of quilts. Never thought I would, but I did. When my grandsons graduated from high school, I took pictures of them through the years, playing sports, and when I took them camping and things, and I had them all transferred to a white piece of fabric, all the photos.
Oh, wow.
And then I incorporated them, and family pictures as well, incorporated them into the quilt. Yeah, I think it was kind of special.
Yeah, absolutely.
I wouldn't want to have to do it again. But, we do things when we can.
Exactly. Exactly.
When it's meaningful. So, I mean, there are a lot of different types of opportunities overall in the military.
Yeah, in Vermont particularly, we offer over 60 different jobs.
Really?
Yeah.
Give me a handful.
I mean, we can range anything from infantry, like I mentioned before, to information technology, to the band.
Oh, yeah, I love that. Music.
We even have a public affairs office, so they deal with photojournalism. We have truck drivers. We have medics, X-ray technicians.
CDL licenses?
CDL, yeah. If you hold a military license for a year with any of our vehicles that have air brake, you can actually bypass the road test for your CDL and go and take the written test and get your CDL certificate.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, and I believe that around the country, people are looking for drivers with a CDL license. So, you could work part-time at the Guard and use that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Skill in another job.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's a double whammy.
Yeah, and like anyone that wants to do work for their local rescue team.
If you have the military,
our combat
medical.
medics, our combat medics, their first 8 weeks of their 16-week job schooling is getting their EMT national certification.
Wow.
So
this training that you might get in the National Guard can be transferred to a job outside of the Guard, which gives you, two sources of income and two job opportunities, and what could be better than that if you're trying to, sustain a family, pay off a mortgage or whatever, and you're being of service.
Exactly.
At the same time.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
It is. It is.
Okay, so let's see. Where am I here with my notes? Da, da, da. You want to play a tune?
Yeah.
I love military music. I love to go to West Point. My high school boyfriend is a graduate of West Point,
Okay.
and he's a retired 2-star general.
Wow.
Yeah, I know how to pick him. Of course, I let him go. So, but anyway, this isn't about me. But very smart man. And
You have to be to go to West Point.
Pardon me?
You have to be to go to West Point. Very
Yeah.
prestigious school.
He worked at the Pentagon for a number of years, and actually they now they honored him with a picture of him, or a framed photo of him on the wall at the Pentagon, because he designed the workforce requirements, the needs for a couple of the latter military wars or whatever you want to call them. I'm not that versed, but yeah. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. So it's just part of my life experience with the military, which I love. So now let's get to, we have about 6 minutes left, 5.5 minutes left. Time flies when you're having fun. I told you that.
You did.
So let's discuss the benefits.
Sure.
Of being a member of the Vermont Army National Guard.
Yeah, so
Go ahead.
The biggest thing is, as I mentioned before, again, and I can't stress this enough, is we are a part-time organization. A good majority of our formation is the 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks a year. But with that, we offer to them full-time benefits. And a lot of these benefits are better than what they can get outside of us at their normal jobs or what have you.
Part-time work with full-time benefits.
Yes.
How can you beat that?
I know.
Go ahead.
So again, when we sit down with anyone, we go over all of this with them. But the biggest thing, I'm just going to touch on about three of the big benefits that we offer. One is our healthcare. So as I mentioned before, it's full benefits. So anything you have a monthly premium that you pay. Your drill check will cover your monthly premium most likely. When you're first starting out, if you don't have a degree already or you don't have anything that would advance you in rank prior to coming in, your initial check may not fully cover it, but it'll cover a good majority of it. So you're looking at a single soldier, doesn't have a wife or kids or anything like that, you're looking at $52 a month.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, someone that has a family, whether it's just a wife or a wife and kids or kids, it's $211 a month. And
that's cheap.
Absolutely. And again, there's no co-pays.
Oh my gosh.
I take my kids to the doctor's office and I don't spend anything after I walk out. So I still have an extra $30 in my pocket.
That is amazing. With the cost of healthcare today, what a benefit that is.
The only copay you might have to pay is for medication. And even then, I think like the most I've ever paid, I think, is $15.
Can I join?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Don't you need a grandmother there somewhere?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I have a nursing background. That might help.
Perfect.
Okay.
We had the best medics in the state right here in St. Albans.
Yeah, really?
Yeah.
Honestly.
Maybe that's a biased opinion, but my personal opinion is yes.
I bet they're great.
They are. They're a fantastic group.
And important. Okay, full dental coverage options.
Yep. So dental, again, you're looking at about $11 for a single person, and then $93 and some change for a family, and that covers 2 cleanings a year.
Okay.
And then I know I said 3, but we're going to cover 4.
Okay.
And then life insurance.
Yep.
Which is a big one.
Yes.
A lot of kids think that, they're young, they're made of rubber, and nothing's ever going to happen to them. Well, nobody's made of rubber, and you never know day to day what's going to happen.
No one knows.
Everything is unexpected. We offer life insurance. You can opt not to take it if you choose to. Or if you do choose to take it, we offer as low as $50,000 of coverage, which runs you about $4.25 a month. I know, the big numbers.
Yeah, exactly.
They'll make me go broke. Or you can max out at $400,000, and that's $29 a month.
Wow, that's unbelievable.
Yeah.
What? I mean, I'm sure you earn it when the time comes where you're needed, and all the preparation that it takes to be prepared. Who knows what's going to happen? No one knows.
Right.
And except the guy up there. So, okay, so the life insurance.
Yep.
And you said the 4th one. We have a minute and a half left.
So this is the big one. So this is our education benefits.
Yep.
So to make it brief, we have a new tuition bill that we just brought into effect back in June of last year. What that does is it covers your full tuition 100% to Vermont Technical College, CCV, UVM,
Wow.
Northern Vermont University, and Castleton University.
Wow.
On top of that, we have the Montgomery GI Bill that people are eligible for, which will pay the soldier themselves for 36 months, $356 a month.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, we're in our last minute here, but I can tell you are great at your job. I'm proud to know you. You just got a promotion, which I congratulate you on. I thank you so much for coming on the program. And I think we didn't get any calls because people were immersed in learning. And this is important for people to know. It's an opportunity, a great opportunity for a lot of people who don't have a job or they're looking for an occupation. So thank you so much for what you do,
Thank you.
Andrew.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Maybe we'll do it again sometime.
Sure.
And
Absolutely.
thank you to all of you out there who will participate in our Vermont Army National Guard. I have to say goodbye now. So thanks for tuning in, folks. I'll see you again soon. Have a great week. Good night.